What if I told you that the thing stealing most of your peace right now is not your problem? It's your struggle with the problem. Think about it. How much energy do we spend trying to control what another person thinks, what happened yesterday, what might happen tomorrow, or how life is supposed to unfold? We grip tightly to things that were never ours to hold. And then we wonder why we feel exhausted. The moment you stop fighting reality, peace begins. Not tomorrow, not next year. Now, have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to argue with reality, not with another person, not with a situation, but with reality itself? Something happens that we do not want. A door closes, a relationship changes, a plan falls apart, someone says something that hurts us. The future refuses to unfold according to the picture we carefully created in our minds, and almost immediately a struggle begins. Not always on the outside. Often it happens silently, deep within us. A voice appears and says, "This should not be happening." Another voice says, "I need to fix this immediately." Another says, "How do I make sure this never happens again?" Without realizing it, we begin a battle against what is already here. The strange thing is that most of us think this battle is helping us. We think resistance is strength. We think tension is preparation. We think that if we worry enough, analyze enough, replay enough, or control enough, somehow we will find peace. Yet the opposite is often true. The struggle itself becomes the source of our suffering. Imagine standing in the middle of a rainstorm and demanding that the sky become clear. You may dislike the rain. You may wish for sunshine. You may have good reasons for wanting the storm to disappear, but no amount of arguing changes the weather. The storm continues while you exhaust yourself fighting something that was never listening to your demands. Many of us live this way emotionally. We stand in the rain of uncertainty and insist that certainty arrive. We stand in the rain of change and insist that everything remain the same. We stand in the rain of loss and insist that nothing ever leave us. Then we wonder why we feel tired. There is a profound difference between pain and resistance. Pain is a natural part of being human. Everyone experiences disappointment, fear, grief, confusion, and uncertainty. No life escapes these experiences. Resistance is what happens when we believe these experiences should not exist. Pain may knock on the door. Resistance invites it to stay. The moment we begin saying, "This cannot be happening," "This must not be happening," or "I refuse to feel this," we add another layer of suffering on top of the original difficulty. Life has already given us one burden. We immediately create a second one. Acceptance is the willingness to put down that second burden. Many people misunderstand acceptance. They hear the word and imagine passivity. They imagine giving up. They imagine becoming indifferent. But acceptance is none of these things. Acceptance is simply the courage to see clearly. It is the willingness to stop pretending that reality is different from what it is. If you are sad, acceptance says sadness is here. If you are afraid, acceptance says fear is here. If a situation has changed, acceptance says change is here. Notice how simple that is. Acceptance does not tell you to like what is happening. It does not ask you to approve of it. It does not require you to celebrate it. It only asks you to stop fighting the fact that it exists. There is tremendous freedom in that. Think about how much energy is spent every day wishing reality were different. How many hours are spent replaying conversations that have already ended? How many nights are spent imagining alternate versions of the past? How much effort goes into resisting emotions that are already present? We carry these invisible weights everywhere. We carry them into our relationships. We carry them into our work. We carry them into our quiet moments. And because we have carried them for so long, they begin to feel normal. We forget how heavy they are. Then something remarkable happens when we finally stop resisting, not when we solve everything, not when circumstances become perfect, not when life starts obeying our preferences. Simply when we stop fighting, a little space appears, a little breathing room, a little softness. For the first time, we are no longer trapped inside the struggle. We are simply present with what is. And presence has a healing quality that resistance never possesses. When we stop running from an experience, we discover that we can actually survive it. The fear we thought would destroy us becomes something we can sit with. The sadness we tried to avoid becomes something we can feel without drowning. The uncertainty we feared becomes something we can carry, not because these experiences become pleasant, but because we discover that we are larger than them. So much of human suffering comes from the belief that difficult emotions are mistakes. We think anxiety means something is wrong. We think sadness means we are failing. We think uncertainty means we are lost. But what if these experiences are simply part of being alive? What if they are not evidence that life is broken? What if they are evidence that life is unfolding exactly as life unfolds? The seasons change, the weather changes, the ocean changes, human experience changes too. No emotion remains forever, no condition remains forever. Everything moves, everything shifts, everything transforms, yet when an uncomfortable moment arrives, we often act as if it will last forever. We panic, we tighten, we resist. But if we become still enough, we begin to notice something important. Everything that arises eventually passes. The feeling changes, the thought changes, the circumstance changes. Even the things that seem permanent continue moving in ways we cannot always see. Acceptance allows us to move with that flow instead of against it. It teaches us that peace does not come from controlling life. Peace comes from participating in life. It comes from meeting each moment as it arrives. This moment, then this one, then the next, without demanding that reality become something else before we allow ourselves to be at ease. Perhaps the greatest challenge is that the mind loves certainty. It wants guarantees, it wants promises, it wants permanent answers. Life rarely offers these things. Life offers change. Life offers mystery. Life offers unpredictability. And yet, despite all of that, people continue to love, create, grow, heal, and begin again, not because they have conquered uncertainty, because they have learned to live with it. They have learned that courage is not the absence of discomfort. It is the willingness to remain open in the presence of discomfort. They have learned that peace is not found at the end of struggle. Peace begins the moment the struggle softens, the moment we stop demanding that reality be different, the moment we stop insisting that life follow our script, the moment we allow ourselves to meet this moment exactly as it is, not the moment we hoped for, not the moment we planned for, not the moment we expected. This one, the one that is already here, and when we truly meet it without resistance, without argument, without trying to escape, we often discover something surprising. Beneath all the noise, beneath all the fear, beneath all the endless effort to control what cannot be controlled, there is a quiet place within us that has been waiting patiently all along, a place that does not need certainty to be calm, a place that does not need perfection to be at peace, a place that knows how to rest in the middle of an imperfect, changing, unpredictable life. There is a moment that comes to all of us, although we may not recognize it at first. It is the moment when we realize that no amount of effort can make another person think exactly as we want them to think. No amount of worry can guarantee the future. No amount of replaying the past can change what has already happened. We may spend years trying to manage these things, pushing and pulling at them, hoping that if we are careful enough, smart enough, vigilant enough, we can finally arrange life into a shape that feels safe. Yet life keeps reminding us of something we often do not want to hear. There are limits to what we can control. At first, this realization may feel disappointing. It may even feel frightening. We often associate control with security. We believe that the more we can manage, predict, and influence, the safer we will feel. But if we look honestly at our experience, we may notice something surprising. The constant attempt to control everything does not bring peace. More often, it brings tension. It brings exhaustion. It fills our minds with endless calculations about what might happen next and endless regrets about what happened before. There is another possibility. Instead of pouring our energy into what is beyond our reach, we can begin turning our attention toward what is actually ours. This sounds simple, but it changes everything. Many of us wake up each morning carrying responsibilities that do not belong to us. We carry the burden of other people's opinions. We carry the burden of outcomes that have not happened. We carry the burden of events that are unfolding far beyond our influence. We carry these invisible weights so consistently that we begin to mistake them for our own. But imagine for a moment that you are carrying a heavy backpack. Day after day, you walk with it. Eventually, you stop noticing how much effort it requires. Then one day, someone points out that half of what is inside the backpack was never yours to carry. How would it feel to put it down? How much energy would suddenly become available? How much lighter would each step feel? The same thing happens when we begin distinguishing between what belongs to us and what does not. Our actions belong to us. Our intentions belong to us. Our choices belong to us. Our willingness to be kind belongs to us. Our willingness to tell the truth belongs to us. Our willingness to begin again belongs to us. These are powerful things. These are meaningful things. Yet, because they seem ordinary, we often overlook them while chasing things we cannot possess. We try to control whether everyone approves of us. We try to control whether every effort succeeds. We try to control whether uncertainty ever appears. And in doing so, we lose touch with the place where our real power lies. Real power is not found in controlling the world. It is found in how we meet the world. Consider how often we give away our peace by focusing on what another person should do. We create long arguments in our minds. We rehearse speeches. We imagine ways to convince, persuade, or change them. Sometimes we spend months or even years wishing someone would become different. Yet the only person we can truly guide is ourselves. This does not mean we stop caring about others. It does not mean we become detached or indifferent. It means we recognize a simple truth: another person's choices belong to them. Our response belongs to us. That distinction can free an enormous amount of energy. Instead of trying to manage another person's behavior, we can focus on how we show up. Instead of trying to force understanding, we can practice clarity. Instead of demanding respect, we can embody self-respect. Instead of waiting for others to change before we allow ourselves to move forward, we can take the next step ourselves. There is a quiet dignity in this. It is the dignity of returning to what is actually within reach. The mind often resists this idea because it prefers dramatic solutions. It wants certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants complete control over outcomes. Yet life rarely offers these things. Life offers participation. Life offers possibility. Life offers the opportunity to act without knowing exactly how everything will unfold. This can feel uncomfortable. When we care deeply about something, we naturally want a particular result. We want our efforts to succeed. We want relationships to flourish. We want our dreams to become reality. There is nothing wrong with wanting these things. The difficulty begins when we attach our peace to achieving them. Then every setback feels like a personal failure. Every uncertainty becomes a threat. Every obstacle becomes evidence that something is wrong. But what if our responsibility is not to guarantee the outcome? What if our responsibility is simply to bring our full presence to the process? Think about a gardener planting seeds. The gardener can prepare the soil. The gardener can water the ground. The gardener can provide care and attention, but the gardener cannot force growth. The gardener cannot command the weather. The gardener cannot guarantee the harvest. There comes a point where effort must be paired with trust. Human life is much the same. We can act, we can prepare, we can learn, we can show up wholeheartedly, but we cannot control every result. When we accept this, our effort becomes lighter, not weaker, lighter. There is less desperation in it, less fear, less grasping. We begin acting because the action itself is worthwhile, not because we are trying to force life into submission. This shift changes our relationship with failure as well. When outcomes become our only measure of success, failure feels devastating. It feels final. It feels personal. But when we focus on what is within our control, a different perspective emerges. Did you act with integrity? Did you do your best with the information you had? Did you remain open to learning? Did you continue despite uncertainty? If the answer is yes, then something valuable has already occurred, regardless of the outcome. Growth has occurred. Courage has occurred. Presence has occurred. These things matter, perhaps more than we realize. The same principle applies to our thoughts and emotions. Many people spend a tremendous energy trying to control every thought that enters their minds. They become frustrated when fear appears. They become discouraged when doubt arises. They imagine that peace means never feeling anxious, never feeling uncertain, never feeling vulnerable. But thoughts come and go, emotions come and go. We cannot always choose what arrives. We can choose how we relate to what arrives. This is where our freedom lies. A fearful thought appears. We can chase it for hours, or we can acknowledge it and let it pass. A wave of anger arises. We can become consumed by it, or we can notice it with curiosity and patience. A feeling of uncertainty visits us. We can fight it, or we can make room for it. The difference is subtle, but profound. One path leads to struggle, the other leads to peace. The more we practice returning our attention to what is actually ours, the more stable we become. Life continues to change, challenges continue to appear, uncertainty continues to exist. Yet something within us becomes less reactive. We stop trying to control the entire ocean. We learn how to steer our own boat, and that is enough, more than enough, because the truth is that our influence is greatest when it is focused. Energy scattered across 1,000 uncontrollable things becomes anxiety. Energy directed toward meaningful action becomes strength. Each moment offers us a choice. We can spend our attention wrestling with things beyond our reach, or we can return to the simple question, what is mine to do right now? Maybe it is taking one honest step. Maybe it is having one difficult conversation. Maybe it is extending kindness. Maybe it is resting. Maybe it is beginning again after disappointment. Whatever it is, it will always be closer than we think. It will always exist in the present moment. And every time we return to it, every time we release what is not ours and embrace what is, we reclaim a piece of our peace, a piece of our energy, and a piece of our freedom. One of the quietest sources of suffering in our lives is not what we know. It is what we do not know. We do not know how a conversation will unfold. We do not know what tomorrow will bring. We do not know whether our plans will succeed, whether people will stay, whether opportunities will appear, or whether circumstances will change. The future arrives carrying mysteries, and for many of us, those mysteries feel unbearable. So we try to solve them before they happen. We rehearse scenarios. We predict outcomes. We imagine every possible problem. We search for certainty in places where certainty does not exist. The mind believes it is helping. It believes that if it thinks hard enough, worries long enough, plans carefully enough, it will eventually arrive at a place where nothing unexpected can happen. Yet, if we look honestly at our experience, we may notice that this place never arrives. The moment one uncertainty disappears, another takes its place. One question gets answered, and three new questions emerge. One fear fades, and another quietly appears. Life continues moving, the unknown continues existing, and the mind continues demanding guarantees. There is something deeply human about this. We want to feel safe. We want to know that everything will be okay. We want reassurance that the people we love will remain, that our efforts will matter, and that the path ahead will be clear. But life rarely offers such promises. Instead, life invites us into a different relationship with uncertainty, not a relationship built on resistance, not a relationship built on fear, a relationship built on openness. This can sound impossible at first. How could anyone become open to uncertainty? How could anyone stop craving certainty? The answer is not that we stop craving it. The answer is that we stop expecting life to provide it. There is an important difference. Imagine standing beside a river and demanding that the water stop moving. You may wish for stillness, you may prefer predictability, but the nature of the river is movement. Life is much the same. Its nature is change, its nature is unpredictability, its nature is constant unfolding. When we demand permanence from something designed to change, frustration is inevitable. We suffer not because life changes, but because we expect it not to. The desire for certainty often hides beneath many of our daily struggles. We want certainty that people appreciate us. We want certainty that our work will succeed. We want certainty that difficult times will never return. We want certainty that we are making the right decision. Because we cannot obtain these guarantees, we become trapped in endless analysis. We weigh every possibility. We replay every choice. We search for perfect answers, yet perfection remains just beyond reach. At some point, we begin to realize something profound. The goal is not to eliminate uncertainty. The goal is to learn how to live with it. This realization changes everything because the moment uncertainty is no longer viewed as an enemy, it loses much of its power. The unknown becomes something we can meet rather than something we must defeat. Consider how much of your life has unfolded through uncertainty. Think about the relationships you cherish. Think about the opportunities that shaped you. Think about the experiences that transformed you. Most of them arrived without guarantees. Most of them required stepping into territory you could not fully predict. If you had waited for complete certainty, many of those experiences would never have happened. Growth often begins where certainty ends. The mind rarely likes hearing this. It wants maps, it wants instructions, it wants assurances, but growth asks for something different. Growth asks for trust, not trust that everything will go exactly as planned, trust that you can meet whatever happens. This is a much deeper form of confidence. Many people spend years trying to become confident by controlling circumstances. They believe confidence means knowing exactly what will happen. But true confidence has little to do with prediction. True confidence comes from recognizing your capacity to respond. It comes from knowing that even if life surprises you, you can adapt. Even if plans change, you can adjust. Even if uncertainty appears, you can remain present. This understanding creates a remarkable shift. Instead of trying to control the future, you begin developing a relationship with the present. Instead of asking, "How do I make sure nothing goes wrong?" you begin asking, "How do I meet this moment fully?" Instead of demanding certainty, you cultivate resilience, and resilience is far more valuable. Certainty is fragile because it depends on circumstances. Resilience remains available even when circumstances change. The future has always been uncertain. Even on the days when everything seemed predictable, uncertainty was present. The difference was simply that you were not thinking about it. Life has never offered guarantees, yet somehow you have continued. You have navigated challenges. You have survived disappointments. You have adapted to unexpected changes. You have found your way through situations you once thought impossible. The evidence of your capacity already exists. But the mind often forgets. When uncertainty appears, it acts as though this moment is different. It says, "This time I won't be able to handle it. This time things are too complicated. This time I need complete answers before I move forward." Yet these thoughts are often reflections of fear rather than reflections of reality. Fear wants certainty before action. Life asks for action despite uncertainty. There is courage in that, not dramatic courage, not the kind celebrated in stories, a quieter courage, the courage to make a decision without knowing every outcome, the courage to love despite vulnerability, the courage to begin despite doubt, the courage to continue despite unanswered questions. This courage becomes possible when we stop treating uncertainty as a problem. The unknown is not a mistake in the design of life. It is part of the design. Without uncertainty, there would be no discovery. Without uncertainty, there would be no creativity. Without uncertainty, there would be no growth. Every meaningful journey begins with a step into what cannot be fully known. And perhaps this is why uncertainty feels so uncomfortable. It places us face to face with our lack of control. It reminds us that life is larger than our plans. It reminds us that no amount of preparation can eliminate every risk. At first, this realization can feel unsettling, but eventually it becomes liberating. Because once we stop demanding certainty, we stop measuring ourselves against an impossible standard. We stop expecting ourselves to know everything. We stop punishing ourselves for not having all the answers. We stop waiting for perfect clarity before living our lives. Instead, we learn to move forward gently. One step, one breath, one moment at a time. The future remains unknown, but we no longer need it to be known. We begin discovering that peace is not found in certainty. Peace is found in our relationship with uncertainty. When we stop resisting it, something softens. The constant tension of trying to predict everything begins to ease. The endless mental calculations lose their urgency. We start noticing the life that is happening right now instead of becoming consumed by imaginary futures. This does not mean fear disappears. Fear may still visit. Questions may still arise. Doubt may still appear, but they no longer dominate the entire landscape. They become guests rather than rulers. We make room for them without surrendering to them. And in that space, something beautiful emerges, a willingness to trust the unfolding of life, not because life will always be easy, not because everything will work out exactly as we hope, but because we begin recognizing that our strength does not come from knowing the future. It comes from meeting the present again and again, with openness, with patience, with curiosity, with a heart that no longer requires certainty in order to remain at peace. There is a curious habit of the human mind. It rarely wants to stay where life is actually happening. When the present moment arrives, simple and immediate, the mind often leaves it almost instantly. It travels backward into memories, replaying conversations, reliving mistakes, revisiting moments we wish had unfolded differently. Or it travels forward into imagined futures, constructing possibilities, rehearsing problems, predicting outcomes that may never come to pass. Meanwhile, life waits patiently, not in yesterday, not in tomorrow, here, in this breath, in this moment, in this ordinary, often overlooked experience of being alive. Many of us spend years searching for peace without realizing that peace cannot be found in a memory and it cannot be found in a prediction. Memories may teach us, plans may guide us, but neither can provide the direct experience of being alive right now. And yet, right now is the only place life has ever existed. Think about how often you tell yourself that peace will arrive later, perhaps after a certain goal is achieved, after a problem is solved, after uncertainty disappears, after life becomes easier. The mind creates a future version of reality and says, when I finally arrive there, then I will relax. But when that future arrives, something interesting happens. The mind creates another future, another condition, another requirement, another reason to postpone peace. The destination keeps moving, the finish line keeps shifting, and peace remains just beyond reach. Not because it is unavailable, because we are looking for it in the wrong place. The present moment is often far simpler than the stories we tell about it. Right now, perhaps there is breathing. Perhaps there is the sound of your surroundings. Perhaps there is the feeling of your feet touching the ground. Perhaps there is a sensation of warmth, coolness, tension, or relaxation. These experiences are immediate. They are real. They are happening now. But the mind is often more interested in its commentary about life than in life itself. It creates narratives, it evaluates, it compares, it judges, it imagines. Soon we become so involved with the story that we lose contact with the moment that inspired the story. We stop experiencing life directly. We begin experiencing our thoughts about life. This separation creates a subtle form of suffering because thoughts are rarely content to remain still. One thought leads to another. One worry creates another worry. One memory awakens another memory. The mind becomes crowded. The heart becomes tired, and we begin feeling disconnected without fully understanding why. The present moment offers a way back, not because it removes all difficulty, not because it guarantees happiness, but because it reconnects us with what is actually happening. The present moment has a remarkable quality. It is rarely as overwhelming as the mind's projections. A future imagined by fear can seem unbearable. A past replayed through regret can seem crushing. But this moment, the one directly in front of us, is often manageable, not always comfortable, not always pleasant, but manageable. This breath can be experienced. This step can be taken. This conversation can be entered. This moment can be lived. The mind often says, I need to solve my entire life. The present moment quietly says, just be here. There is great wisdom in that invitation. Many people imagine presence as a technique, something to practice for a few minutes each day, something separate from ordinary life. But presence is not separate from life. Presence is intimacy with life. It is the willingness to meet reality directly instead of through the filter of endless mental commentary. When you drink a cup of tea and actually taste it, that is presence. When you listen to another person without preparing your response, that is presence. When you feel sadness without immediately trying to escape it, that is presence. When you walk beneath the sky and genuinely notice it, that is presence. These moments may appear small, yet they contain a depth that constant distraction cannot provide. One reason we avoid the present moment is because the present moment sometimes contains discomfort. If grief is here, we would rather think about tomorrow. If fear is here, we would rather distract ourselves. If uncertainty is here, we would rather search for guarantees. The mind assumes that leaving the present moment will protect us from discomfort, but often it has the opposite effect. The discomfort remains, while additional layers of anxiety, resistance, and mental struggle are added on top of it. The experience becomes heavier, not because reality became more difficult, because we stopped meeting reality directly. There is tremendous courage in remaining present with what is here, not forcing it away, not clinging to it, simply allowing it to exist. A feeling arises, we notice it. A thought appears, we observe it. A difficult moment arrives, we make room for it. This does not mean passivity. It does not mean resignation. It means developing a relationship with experience that is grounded in awareness rather than reaction. When we become present, something else begins to happen. We start noticing how much of life has been missed: the warmth of sunlight on a wall, the sound of laughter, the movement of leaves in the wind, the rhythm of breathing, the kindness in a stranger's face. These ordinary moments are always available, yet they often go unnoticed because attention is trapped elsewhere. The mind says, "This is not important." It is waiting for something bigger, something dramatic, something extraordinary. But life is not built entirely from extraordinary moments. Life is built from countless ordinary moments. Miss enough of them and you miss your life. Presence allows us to return again and again, not perfectly, not permanently, just repeatedly. Every time the mind wanders into regret, we return. Every time it races toward fear, we return. Every time it becomes lost in stories, we return. This returning is not failure, it is the practice itself. The goal is not to stop the mind from wandering. The goal is to recognize when it has wandered and gently come back. Each return strengthens something within us. Patience grows. Awareness deepens. Compassion expands. We become less controlled by every passing thought. We learn that thoughts are events occurring within awareness, not commands that must be obeyed. This realization creates space, and within that space, freedom begins to emerge. The future may remain uncertain, the past may remain unchanged, yet something within us becomes more stable, not because circumstances have improved, because attention has returned home. There is a profound difference between living in imagination and living in reality. Imagination has its place. Planning has its place. Remembering has its place. But when these activities consume our attention, they pull us away from the only place where life can actually be experienced: this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this encounter. The present moment does not ask us to become someone different. It does not require perfection. It does not demand certainty. It simply invites us to arrive, to stop running for a moment, to stop chasing, to stop resisting, to stop searching everywhere else for what can only be found here. And perhaps that is why presence feels so peaceful, not because every problem disappears, not because every question is answered, but because for a brief and precious moment we stop carrying yesterday and we stop borrowing tomorrow. We set them down. We feel the ground beneath us. We feel the breath moving through us. We feel the reality of being alive. And in that simple act of arriving fully in the moment, we discover that peace was never hidden in some distant future waiting to be earned. It was quietly waiting beneath all the noise, beneath all the striving, beneath all the endless movement of the mind, here in the life that is unfolding right now, in the only moment we have ever truly been given. Before I leave you with one final thought. I want you to imagine something. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that every problem in your life has not disappeared. The future is still uncertain. Some questions are still unanswered. Some people are still beyond your control. Some challenges are still waiting for your attention. And yet, despite all of that, you feel peaceful. Why? Because peace was never waiting for your problems to end. Peace was waiting for your resistance to end. Throughout our lives, we are taught to hold on. Hold on to expectations. Hold on to certainty. Hold on to the past. Hold on to control. But perhaps one of the greatest lessons life can teach us is that peace does not come from holding on tighter. Peace comes from knowing what to release. Release the argument with reality. Release the burden of controlling what was never yours to control. Release the demand that the future reveal itself before its time. Release the habit of living everywhere except the present moment. The moment you stop carrying these unnecessary weights, you discover something extraordinary. You were never lacking peace. You were simply carrying too much noise to hear it. Life will continue to change. Some days will be beautiful. Some days will be difficult. People will come and go. Plans will succeed and fail. Certainty will appear and disappear. But there is a deeper stability available to you, one that does not depend on circumstances, a stability that comes from acceptance, a stability that comes from presence, a stability that comes from trusting yourself to meet life as it unfolds. So when fear arrives, meet it with awareness. When uncertainty arrives, meet it with courage. When change arrives, meet it with openness. And when life refuses to follow your plans, remember that your peace does not depend on life following your plans. It depends on your willingness to stay open to life. Because in the end, the most powerful words you may ever say are not, I have everything under control. They are, I don't need everything under control to be at peace. And perhaps at this very moment, that is the invitation life is offering you, not to control more, not to struggle more, but to trust more, to soften more, to let go more. Take a deep breath. Feel this moment. Let your shoulders relax. Let the past rest where it belongs. Let the future arrive when it arrives. And let yourself be fully here. Because the peace you have been searching for is not hidden in tomorrow. It is not waiting on the other side of perfect circumstances. It begins the moment you release what you cannot control and embrace what is already here. And that moment can be now. Thank you.